Once upon a distant time, there was a young boy who loved to go out and explore the woods near his home. Along his journeys, he'd find many interesting things, such as rivers, caves, bugs, and sticks. This sense of exploration stuck with him for the rest of his life. Now imagine that same boy grew up to become a designer at Nintendo. While working on what would become Super Mario Bros., this man would simultaneously be working on a game that was inspired by his past as a kid, exploring nature. Yes, that very man was indeed Shigeru Miyamoto. Dang, this dude dropping 2 industry-defining games and only a year apart from one another? Yes indeed, loyal viewers, for encased in this fake golden-colored plastic cartridge is a game that many will rave about as a masterpiece, a perfect action-adventure game, a monument to awesomeness. Well, in 1986 it was considered that. Now, a lot of people like this game today, but let's not kid ourselves here, guys. The first Zelda game is far from perfect and it has many flaws, but I will give it a chance in this review to see if it has any more merits than just, being the first in its franchise. So, without further ado, let's take a look at The Legend of Zelda. Now, I grew up a Nintendo kid, so I knew of Zelda's popularity, and since I played the NES Mario games off the Virtual Console, Zelda 1 was one I decided to give a shot at. This game for a while was really the only Zelda game I actually felt comfortable playing. I was aware of the others, but I knew those games would take up a lot of my time, and I wasn't used to big adventure games at that point in my life. Heck, it wouldn't be until 2020 when I would eventually beat Zelda 2, and only 2 years later when I'd finally venture my toes into other entries like Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, and Breath of the Wild. That first game was one I replayed a lot. Looking up the guides, knowing where each dungeon, heart piece, and hidden rupee was exciting, and when I got to the end, it was great. But now going back to this game after playing other entries that, for all intents and purposes, are better in every way, I'm ready to see what works, what doesn't, and what I can get out of it. And just to get this out of the way, no, I am not explaining the timeline in this video. That thing is a mess, and I don't really want to get into it in this video, so I'm only going to be focusing on this game's story and this game's story alone. There exists a fantasy land known as Hyrule with a kingdom at its center that is currently going through its Detroit phase right now. It's run down and there's monsters roaming the lands. There's this mystical artifact called the Triforce, made of 3 golden Doritos. Its power would grant anyone who wields it a wish. An evil piggy boy by the name of Ganon has the spicy chili Dorito, and the Princess of Hyrule, Zelda, has the cool ranch Dorito. Fearing that Ganon will take your snackies, Zelda crushes it into 8 mini Doritos and scatters it across the land into 8 dungeons. This makes Ganon have a little bit of a hissy fit, so we kidnap Zelda in retaliation, while his minions are set to guard the dungeons. Meanwhile, a wandering hero named Link hears about the kingdom's predicament from Zelda's assistant, Impa, and he sets out to reunite the pieces, defeat Ganon, and save Zelda. But Kade, wait, I hear you ask, where's the third Triforce piece, the Nacho Cheese Dorito?
Don't worry about that!
That won't be acknowledged until the next game, so until then, watch the animated series to pass the time.
Zelda!
Link!
Oh boy, smooching time!
Starting the game up takes you to a nice looking title screen, and after a couple of seconds, the game does a recap of the story that looks like it was written by a guy with the brains of Ed from Good Burger.
I know some of these words.
As well as showing off all the items you'll encounter in the game, and then goes on to tell you to please look up the manual for more details. To summarize, it basically just tells you all the stuff that you'll need to know, such as your moves, items, saving, enemies, where to find some dungeons, and that people are hiding underground that give you rupees or hearts. After that quick little reading lesson, you're taken to a file selection? Does this mean save files? Oh, hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Whenever you die, you can save your progress, which keeps all the items you collect, all thanks to that nifty little battery in the cart. Well, after putting your name, yes, I named him Javert, don't question it.
And I'm Javert!
Your quest begins outside with a cave that houses an old bloke that gives you a miracle of combat engineering, a Swared. After going out, it's now up to you and your Swared to find the pieces, go beat Ganon, and save the world. And that's it. Yeah, the game doesn't really tell you nearly anything. Almost everything in this game is hidden, and the only way to find them is to explore the overworld, but that's easier said than done. Along the way, you'll run into foes that, let's just say, are not what you think they are. What's that, a mummy? Nope, that's a Gibdo. Okay. What's that, a bat? Nope, that's a keese. A key? No, a keese. K-E-E-S-E. Okay. Well, that's definitely a snake. Nope, that's a rope. Are you on drugs? Yes, but that's besides the point. That's actually what they're called. Look, see? Oh, well, I guess it does then. Sorry I misjudged you. That's okay, sentient burping lion. Call the ambulance. Later. Well, weird names aside, most of these foes can be defeated by you swinging your Swared, or just poking them, that works too. Yeah, I'm gonna stab you glutes, yeah. Enemies drop Hyrule's currency, rupees. These can be exchanged for items in the shops, and some shops sell items for cheaper, but they're usually hidden. Other tools you can use to help are the boomerang, bombs, a bow and arrow, a candle that shoots fire, a recorder that takes you to other places you've beaten which helps with backtracking, a magic wand, a big shield that can block most projectiles, a Bible that shoots fire from the wand, Old Testament represent, bitch! A bracelet that makes you more powerful, a clock that stops time for one screen that's dropped from foes, and potions that refill your health. After roaming around and collecting stuff, when you feel ready, you head to the old tree on the island to conquer the first dungeon. Now, the dungeons are filled with foes that give you keys to open doors, blocks you have to push in order to open secret stairs, or items to help you find the location of the Dorito piece, and even a map. They usually have an item you can find that helps you out. Some are optional, but a few are mandatory to beat the game, like the step ladder that lets you get over one block holes or water, and the raft that lets you sail to other parts of the map, as well as the recorder. And after you get to the room before the Triforce, you have to face a boss first, with this one being called Aquamentus. Just dodge the fire and give him a quick lobotomy to win. Each boss drops a heart container that increases your max health by 1, and then you collect the piece and are booted back out. Congrats! You gotta do that 7 more times. This is pretty much the game. The story doesn't really go anywhere after the beginning. You really just gotta find all the stuff and go to Ganon and beat him. But there is other stuff to do. You can upgrade your Swared to get better ones by having more heart containers. They can be found not just by beating bosses, but also finding secret rooms that house either a red potion or a heart container. Never pick the potion. You can buy blue and red ones at a store which give you full refills on life, and you can't change your mind afterwards, so always pick the heart. Some secret rooms have rupees that help your spending habits, and some just have an old fart that tells you to fork over some cash for door repairs. What door? And who lives under a bush? There's a mini game you can play to try to score more cash, but it's luck based, so practice caution. But you'll need that cash, cause one of the best items in the game is the blue ring that cuts damage in half. But it's 250 stinking rupees! All I can say is grind and good luck to you. There's also fairies that heal you if you touch them, and one is always by this lake in case you need a pick-me-up. And inside the dungeons you can find old men that give you more room for bombs for a price. And trust me, you will need those, cause we got more dungeons to trek through. Most of them shouldn't give you too much trouble. The challenge isn't really in the layout since they're pretty short.
I can explain.
It's mainly the foes likes. Try saying that 5 times fast. These things will take your shield if they catch you, so watch out. Then there's the Dark Nuts. This game's Hammer Bros, cause they suck ass. You can only hit them from the side or behind, and they keep freaking moving everywhere. Oh, but Wizzrobes, let me tell you about Wizzrobes. They're also a pain. They hit like trucks, and some even move around, which can make hitting them a chore. Another thorn in my tunic endowed side is these skull bubbles that take your sword away for a couple of seconds. The other bosses you'll face include Dodongo, who you have to beat with bombs, Gleeox, whose heads chase you every time you kill one, Goma, this big crab thing that you gotta hit its eye with an arrow, and then there's this thing, which is apparently called Dig Dogger, that you have to play the recorder in order to hurt? And then there's Manhandla? What are these names? Who, I have no idea what this is even supposed to be, who gets faster when you kill each of its heads. Well, after getting all the pieces, your journey brings you to Death Mountain, and once you show the old man the Dorito, he grants you access to Ganon's dungeon. This place is a nightmare. It is filled with dead ends, powerful monsters, and tons of locked doors. But there's also 2 items in here, and one of them is required to beat Ganon, being the silver arrow. And then there's the optional one, but at this point it's best to just go ahead and get it because it'll make the dungeon less painful, that being the red ring, which reduces damage you take to 1/4. And after fighting through the last mini-boss, you finally make it to Ganon's chamber where he turns invisible like a pussy, and he shoots beams across the room. He actually only appears in a preset number of spots, so you just gotta hang out near one of them and keep stabbing the Swarid until he gets weak, and then you finish him off with the silver arrow. Bada bang, bada bam. After taking his sweet chili Dorito, you find Zelda in the next room, who you can actually die here if you keep running into the fire. Oh man, if that happened, the shame would be monumental. But you just gotta swipe it away and boom, you save Zelda, and that's the game. Yeah, story-wise it's not that deep, but hey, at least you did it. Or did you? You see, there's a second quest you can do that shuffles the dungeon designs and the hidden secret rooms around. This is mainly for people who want a harder challenge. If you feel like you're up to it, you can skip directly to it by putting your name as Zelda on the file select screen. Along the journey, we have some tunes to listen to, and it may be short, but it is pretty decent. The title theme is iconic, the overworld theme is also iconic and is pretty much the anthem of the franchise. The dungeon theme is simple, but it is nice on the ears, and the final dungeon gives off the right intimidating feel. And the credits theme is pretty fulfilling. Now, I've managed to keep it cool, mostly, but this game has many flaws that in my opinion ruin the game if you aren't fully prepared. Let's just get the worst one out of the way because it ultimately is the crux of this game's shortcomings. It's cryptic as fuck. Literally almost nothing is explained. For example, remember the secret rooms that have the rupees and the heart containers? They're either behind bombable walls or dry bushes you have to burn with a candle, but there's literally no indication that you can do that. A bombable wall and a dry bush look exactly the same as a normal wall and a normal bush. Finding the right dungeons is also a pain. Some you can find simply by walking around if you keep an eye out of where you've been, but then there's Dungeon 5, which you have to keep walking up this mountain until you hear a jingle. Dungeon 6 requires you to trek through the Lost Woods, which if you don't know which way to go, you'll just keep looping around. And the only way to find out where to go is by talking to this old bitch who you have to pay a certain amount of money for. If you pay her too little, she won't say shit, but if you pay her too much, she won't tell you shit while also saying how rich you are. Ho, you money-grubbing whore! And in the graveyard, there's a grave that houses the magical Swarid, but it's under a tombstone, but touching tombstones spawn ghosts, so you just have to keep picking one until you get it. And then Dungeon 7, you have to use the recorder on the lake next to the fairy lake in order to find it. And then there's the 8th dungeon. This thing is hidden under a random bush. Oh, lovely. And the final dungeon is behind a bombable wall. Kill me. Oh, and the Swarids. Oh, get this. In order to get a Swarid upgrade, you have to quote-unquote master using it, which actually means you need a certain amount of hearts, but the game doesn't tell you that. So with all of this crap, to the average player that at least understands the basic moves without outside assistance, you will just wander around aimlessly with no idea where to go, no way of knowing how to get the items, and no idea of how to simply beat the game. And what doesn't help at all is this! This freaking gray box is apparently your map.
Excuse me?
Yep, this is probably one of the worst maps I've ever seen in games. It is literally a waste. This is why I recommend playing this game and the second one with a guide. Whether you prefer Nintendo Power, hand-drawn maps, or the good old internet, they will make the trek less annoying. But then the fucking purists come in and they're all like, "You can't wait, you're not supposed to play it that way. Games are supposed to be cryptic and complicated. This is just how it was designed, and you're just a softie. You don't know what it's like. This is not how back in our day when we used to have games like this. You're just a softie, a whiny bitch that doesn't know how to play games right. This is not how you're supposed to play it. You just need to get good. You need to
Shut the fuck up!
Here's the thing. Games are supposed to be fun, right? That's why people play them. Running around aimlessly with no idea of where to find stuff that the game doesn't bother to tell you, you know what that is? It's not fun. You won't keep looking, you'll eventually stop playing and move on to something else. I can't stress this enough, this is simply outdated game design. If you want a Zelda experience that doesn't do any of this, as well as improves upon everything tenfold like the gameplay, story, world building, and music, just play Link to the Past. And the manual, while helpful, doesn't go over everything like the walls and bushes, and also, you probably don't have one, do you? Cause back then, everybody just threw them away. Well, besides the cryptic bullshit, some other flaws is that the controls are kinda stiff, hitting enemies can be kind of weird, especially if they move fast. If you have full health, you can shoot a beam from your sword, but it goes away when you don't have full health. Not really a flaw, but whatever. When you die and continue, you start with only 3 hearts. Thanks, game. Not. While the music is iconic, it is kind of repetitive. The hints the game does give you is just odd. This one says, show this to the old woman. Which one? There's like 3. There's not really a great way to get money. Unless you're lucky with the gambling minigame, you'll just keep grinding forever. Some bosses are also reused, but at this point, I've gotten used to that in NES games. The Ganon fight is kind of disappointing. One that really rides up my ass is this jackass that blocks the entrance to Dungeon 7. He won't budge unless you do something. I want you to guess what you're supposed to do here. Go ahead, I'll give you a second to think about it. Time. If you guessed, give him the meat item. Congratulations, you are really f***ing lucky. Because as I said many times, nothing in the game tells you to do that. The land of Hyrule is also kind of dull. We are in a kingdom, right? I mean, I know they're on hard times now, but there's no towns, no castle, no nothing. Just the same grass, desert, mountain, and graveyard textures. The second quest is also nothing to write home about either. The only thing you get for beating it is just a different set of text at the end. I haven't beaten it, so I really don't mind. Look, I'll be honest, I didn't mean to be so negative. Well, yeah, I kinda did, but it was just to show why games like this are important historically, and how they've paved the way for their franchises. They have things that are outdated, but that's okay. That's how this works. Knowledge is power. Learning what doesn't work only to fix and improve upon it is what game developers do. Is The Legend of Zelda a masterpiece? No, but I want to state it's not a bad game. Maybe I'm just not into that kind of game design. If there's people that enjoy running around trying to find stuff with no help, that's perfectly fine, as long as they're having a good time. But for me, I want a game that I can actually know what to do in without having to look up for outside assistance. Zelda 1 isn't really a game I'd recommend casually. If you want to see where the series started, then okay, by all means play it, but there are much better games to play. With a guide, it's an okay few hours, nothing too crazy, but without one, it's just a frustrating slog. Again, I don't mean to jab at it too much, it's an important game. It helps cement Nintendo's popularity, and without it, we wouldn't have these games. So, Zelda 1, you're not perfect, but you deserve respect simply for what you helped accomplish in the industry. I tip my hat to you. Well, that's one chapter of the NES Zelda story done with. Next up, we're going to take a look at the black sheep of the series, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Did the game improve upon things that its predecessor established, and does it hold up well today? Well, we'll find out next time.
You'll find out soon enough.